All right, we are live in beautiful, sunny Florida, and today, fight fans, we're going to be breaking down UFC Vegas 18, Volkov versus Overeem. Uh, pretty good main card. Like I'm pretty pumped for this card. Even the prelims that might not have like the highest level of fighters, I think the matchups of themselves are going to be really exciting. Had to bring in a guest for this one. Finally, man, it's been I mean, I can't believe I haven't done a podcast with this guy. And we were talking about it before. I got my dude, Manpreet, MMA lock of the night. I appreciate you coming here, man. It's been a long time. So how you doing?
Yeah, dude, we're talking about it off air that like it feels like we've just been in the same bit of air every now and then, but we just never actually got it down. Pat and actually got us a podcast together, and I'm glad that it's on your channel. We're doing it together. I'm very much stoked for this. You got nice and sunny Florida down there. I got cold as ass Canada up here in Toronto. We still got snow on the ground. I'm trying not to take my dog for a walk. My wife just took our dog for a walk, so I'm thankful I'm the one sitting here nice, warm, and toasty, but I wish I was down there in Florida too, dude.
Man, this has kind of been like a running theme on the podcast. Of course, that's been my intro since I started on YouTube like 5 years ago. I just had Will Martin on for the last one. Of
Oh
course,
yeah.
he's over in Scotland where it's nice and cold and dark. So I don't know, man. I feel like I'm bragging to all my guests that I bring on here, but hey, it's where I am. We're here in beautiful sunny Florida, and man, usually I haven't been starting off these videos with the recaps of the last cards, just because it does take a lot of time. People come for the predictions. Let's get that straight. But when it comes to a Conor McGregor fight, and not just a Conor McGregor fight, one with a massive upset. I mean, the stipulations behind it, there was a lot of hype, big rematch, everything that goes into it. I mean, man, really crazy outcome, crazy fight. I thought it was a awesome first round, and then it seemed to me like DP was just taking over, and that's kind of been a running theme in McGregor fights. Usually, other than really the Eddie Alvarez fight, the guy is slowed down after the first round. The Eddie Alvarez fight was maybe the one exception where that fight, I mean, that's the best Conor McGregor we've ever seen. I stick by that. The one that showed up versus Eddie, and he was getting better as the fight was going on. I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel about Conor. Maybe it was just we were underrating DP. Maybe Conor's not the guy he once was. I mean, what is your overall assessment of what we just saw on that past card, man?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I'm happy that we got like a round and a half of it. You know, what I mean, like we got at least to see this fight. Like it wasn't a Jose Aldo type of thing where he just starches him in 13 seconds because that leaves a lot of questions, right? But this one, we saw it play out. We saw Dustin Poirier like eat the shots of he was eating some clean shots, and not a lot of people thought he was going to be able to stand up to that. So first and foremost, we got to give our hats off to DP there. And yeah, I think people were just kind of just jumping to conclusions, myself included, that Conor, no matter what he throws at DP, Poirier was not going to be able to stand it. He was not going to be able to eat them the way he did. And like the only way I really gave Poirier a shot of winning this fight is if we saw that third round, and we didn't see it. We saw a second round. We still saw him go out there and beat McGregor the way he did. And I think most people, if DP was gonna win, it was either gonna be submission or decision. They didn't see him going out there and starching him on the feet that way either. So happy for Poirier, right? How can you not be? Like the guy goes out there, overcomes one of his first demons in the UFC, which was losing that fight the way he did to Conor, and now going out there and winning on such a grand scale and such decisive fashion as well too. We got to give him his due. I see a lot of people coming out there and be like, oh, Conor is off for a while and blah, blah, blah. But like, if you went out there and starched Poirier in the first round, you're not going to be like, oh, he was off for a while. And like, you got to give Poirier the credit. He went out there, put on a great show, ate some big shots. That was the main key. Is if he was able to eat those shots, he's going to be able to get in there and get his boxing off. And that's what happened. So big win for him. I'm not sure how many people actually called Poirier. I can't claim to, I can't say anything about that. The only upset I called that night was the Amanda Hebos and Marina Rodriguez. I was happy about that one. I'll just sit back and take my profits off that.
There you go. That's a very nice call, man. So I had a bad beat in this main event. I had the under 1.5 rounds, and DP knocked him
Oh,
out. I want to say, I think I missed it by 3 or 4 seconds.
oh,
Yeah, obviously, I'm not going to act like I thought DP would be the guy to finish it early. I was definitely thinking it was going to be an early Connor KO, like most people thought. And then when the tide started shifting in the second round, I'm like, all right, come on, get this KO, DP. Let's go. Let's go. You're going to cash me this under now. And then he just missed it. Now, if you look at it, it looked like the referee was It's all good. We definitely move on to the next, and we got a big ass card right here, dude. There's 14 fights on this card. Now we'll start with the first one here, which is kind of in limbo right now. We don't really know what's going on with it, but it's funny because I actually made a bet on it. I hope it's still happening, but we got Ode Osborne. He is. Go ahead. You want to step in?
So thanks to our guy, Big Marcel 24 on Twitter. He did confirm it. Dennis Bondera is out. Jerome Rivera is in. Ode Osborne versus Jerome Rivera this weekend. And I believe it's at 145. Yep, it'll be at 145 pounds. So there, I'm glad that I got to break it right before we got into the breakdown, because it would have been
There we go. That
nonsensical.
perfect. And you were telling me Ode versus Jerome was booked before, right? Like a few
So
weeks.
it was weird. Like when they had that little bit of a hiatus where we were off for 3 weeks, they had Jerome Rivera down for 2 fights. They had him down for a Wednesday fight against Ode Osborne on that Wednesday card we had a couple weeks ago, and then they had him against Francisco Trinal or Figueiredo on the next card. And I'm like, what's going on here? So apparently he was originally scheduled to fight Osborne. They signed Figueiredo, so they pull him from the Osborne fight, put him into the Figueiredo fight. Luckily for him, he's still getting 2 fights within a month now. So yeah, interesting fight here. I gotta dust up on it a little bit, but yeah, well, Rivera was already scheduled to fight him, so I'm sure he was already training for Osborne a little bit. So maybe he already has like a game plan in the back of his head. Now the question is, can he go out there and actually implement it, right?
Right. And not only that, Jerome just fought, I want to say, what was that? That was one of the most recent cards, right? Somewhere in 2021 against Francisco. So it's like, yeah, I mean, he's staying active. Interesting fight, man. I gotta rewatch that Jerome versus Francisco Figueiredo fight. But I was betting on Osborne here against Denise Bondar. I like Ode Osborne. Mostly what that bet was, I'm mostly gambling on the ceiling of Ode Osborne because I think the ceiling is there with him. He's a great athlete, fast twitch. I think he's got power. He's slick with his subs. I think he has a high ceiling. It's just pretty clear he's green. So I was basically just banking on the fact that he's made enough improvements that he's, making the steady steps in his game to beat a guy in Bonder who that guy, I thought he was all right. But at the plus 145 Ode was at, I was taking the chance. But yeah, new fight here. I'm interested to see what the line will be. You got any guesses?
I think we're gonna get some plus money on Rivera here. Like he doesn't seem the most aware almost of where he's at in a fight, other than the third round against Figueiredo. Like that's one fight where we saw him. He knew he was down, so he goes out there and tries to put it on Figueiredo. Doesn't, obviously isn't successful with it and goes on to lose a decision. But he seems to have decent striking. His bread and butter seems to be his jiu-jitsu. The one thing that I do remember about him is he was I think a minus 210 or minus 250 favorite going into his fight against Brandon Royval. Against Brandon Royval when they were fighting on the LFA, and then a couple of seconds into that fight, he just breaks his arm. Very, very nasty and disgusting injury. But yeah, he was on the Contender Series. He won that fight, very, very like close fight there. But it feels like Osborne could get away with his physicality, his explosiveness, and his speed in this fight. He could possibly make it really difficult for Jerome. But I definitely got to run the tape myself first before making any conclusions here. But I feel like we're going to get Osborne at slight favorite odds, maybe minus 140, minus 150.
Yeah, I like what I see from him on the feet. I thought he was gonna outstrike Bondar. Bondar, I feel like, Bondar's a wrestler. I don't think Jerome Rivera has the kind of wrestling. I mean, that dude, Bondar out in Europe, he was chaining together a lot of takedowns. That dude he can take a fool down for sure. I was worried about that, but as you know, Ode Osborne, he's really active off his back, and even if he doesn't get those subs off his back, he can use them to work back up to his feet. Jerome actually, this is just off the top of my head because, I was just researching him a couple weeks ago. He actually shot 5 takedowns, I want to say, on Contender Series against Luis Rodriguez, didn't get a single one. And then, I got to watch this Francisco fight, but I think he shot some more in that fight. But again, I think he only got 1 or 2, but I think that would be Jerome's path here. I mean, I don't know, man. I think both guys are a little green on the feet, but Ode, like I said, that ceiling is there with Ode. I was banking on that ceiling, and that's probably what I'm going to do here. I'm probably going to pick him against Jerome, but we gotta We got to refresh the memory on Jerome.
Yeah, so he went 0 of 5 on takedowns against Figueiredo. In the Tyson Am fight, obviously that was a knockout. He didn't even try a takedown in that fight. But in his Contender Series fight, he went 0 of 5 as well too. So he's 0 of 10 on takedowns in his last 3 fights. So I don't think he's getting O'Day down, but that might be where he has his most success because he has some solid jiu-jitsu, and we've seen O'Day have some issues with jiu-jitsu in the past. But the question is, can he get it there? And I'm not 100% sure about that. I'm still for me, the jury's still out on O'Day. Like, interesting gym that he trains out of, Prima Vito, I think it's called. I might be completely off on that, but I believe it's a gym that Zach Otto trains at. It's a Milwaukee-based camp or Wisconsin-based camps, Pura Vida, BJJ. That's what it's called, Milwaukee-based camp. And what do we think of Milwaukee when we normally hear about Milwaukee is Roufusport, right? So he's just like, you know what, I'm going to go this way and take it. He's getting decent training, it looks like, but starting his UFC career on a loss against Brian Keller is not the way you really want to go. And remember, he went into that fight as a favorite, so let's not forget about that fight either, right?
That's crazy. And when we're talking about Brian Kelleher was in the rankings at one point in his career. I mean, he's a guy who, I mean, he's been around for a while now. Brian Kelleher is no slouch. I mean, to make your debut against a guy of that caliber, I mean,
on a huge card too. That was the McGregor Cerrone card, and that was the main card as well too. So you got to say there's got to be some nerves that were in that fight for O'Day.
For sure, and he got caught in Kelleher's best move. I mean, that guillotine is money.
That was a beautiful guillotine.
Let's move on to this next one, man. We got here's another rebooking, a fight that was supposed to happen in the past. We got Youssef Zalal. He's around -220, -230, I want to say now. He's taking on Sung Woo Choi. I see him around +200, man. I mean, I'll start with this one. I'll make it short and simple. I actually have a bet on this fight. I took the over 2.5 rounds in this fight. I was kind of surprised to see it at -155. I mean, I don't see either guy getting finished here. Zalal's really tough. You know, he's super tough. That fight against Topuria, man, who, you know, a guy like Topuria, I think very highly of that guy. And he showed a lot of toughness in that fight. Sung Woo Choi is a guy who showed a lot of toughness. You know, he went in there 3 rounds with Movsar Evloev. It took a while for Gavin Tucker to get him out of there. That was Choi's been in there with some pretty tough dudes, that's for sure. Got a win last time. Was supposed to fight this newcomer, Colin Anglin. You know, Zalal, we know how active he's been. I'm not surprised he stepped in here on short notice. One thing that just really sticks out to me here, Sung Woo Choi is one of the biggest featherweights on the roster.
Yeah.
Youssef Zalal is one of the smallest featherweights on the roster, who's actually talked about going down to 135. So I think Choi has a size advantage here. Honestly, when it comes to the feet, I think Choi has better hands, whereas Zalal has better kicks. So it's like, I'm giving some advantages to a +200 guy, but do I think he wins? I'm just not sure, man. I feel like Zalal can mix in the takedowns here. I feel like his ceiling is higher, even though he might end up as a 135 pounder in the near future. I just think he's the better fighter here. Probably a rightful favorite. So I'm going to go with him to take a decision here. And I don't think he finishes Choi. So I got the over here. I'd be surprised if either guy got finished. Who do you got, man?
Yeah, I'm taking Zalal, but not betting this fight whatsoever. I think the line is just way too wide. I think people see, you know, Choi going out there and losing the guys like the Evloevs and the Tuckers and being like, okay, maybe Zalal, you can kind of lump him into those type of that category. Whereas a guy like Suman Mukhtarian, who was the only victory that Sung Woo Choi got in the UFC, Mukhtarian does not deserve to be in the UFC, nor did his brother Ashkan. Those guys were probably the worst fighters ever in the UFC to begin with. So yeah, good on Choi to go out there and get a win over a guy like Suman. But I expected him, like if he was as good as I thought he was, to go out there and actually finish a guy like Suman. So the fact that he wasn't able to do that leaves a little bit for me to be desired for a guy like Choi. But you can't knock the skills that Choi has. Like the guy is a good Muay Thai striker. I believe he won some national title over there in Korea for Muay Thai. Like you said, huge for their division too. I think that might be something here that a lot of people are overlooking as like if Zalal is going to get these takedowns, he's going to have to work for a lot harder. He is, I believe he'll be the shorter guy here too, which might help in terms of being able to complete takedowns, but just dealing with the bigger guys is going to be very tough. Zalal is one of those guys that just like burst onto the scene February of last year. And, you know, was pretty much the 2020 Cowboy. If you remember, like Cowboy used to take fights back to back to back to back and was just like, I don't care who I'm fighting, I'll take a short notice, it's good to go. And I think he got 3 fights off or 4 fights off last year, going 3-1. But yeah, I think he just mixes it up way too much here for a guy like Choi. You know, I mean, I like the gym that he comes out of. I believe he's over there at Factory X. You know, his cardio is great. His overall game is great. That Topuria fight, you can't hang your head on that one, man. Topuria is an absolute beast. I believe that guy has top 5 potential. So to lose to him, you know, I don't think Zalal should get too down on himself. And I don't know if you saw that video. They had a backstage video of Topuria going out there and consoling Zalal, who was like clearly breaking down in the back, and you can tell it really hurt him and it really fucked him up. And I expect him to bring that type of fire here against Choi. I'm glad that I'm sure he's glad that he got this short notice opportunity to just step in there and take on a guy like Choi, who, again, maybe not a top 25, top 30 guy in the division, but at least he gets his way back, you know, into the win column. And I think he just mixed it up much better than Choi. I don't think Choi will be able to deal with the clinch game, the grappling, and just the full MMA game of Yusuf Zalal. But at minus 240, minus 250, I'd rather just pass. Yeah, I mean, like there could be an instance where Choi's size could come into play here, and Zalal has issues getting him down, has issues in the clinch, and we see that Muay Thai game of Choi come through. However, I'm not willing to risk the money on Choi here, nor am I willing to shell out some chalk for Zalal. So I don't mind that over 2.5 play. That's not a bad spot. I do think both guys are quite durable. I don't think that we'll see Zalal finish him, nor do I see Choi finishing him either. So I could see this definitely going over that 2.5. I hate 2.5s. I mean overs. I absolutely hate overs. I can't stand them. The last round that I just bet, I hammered that Santiago Ponzinibbio and Li Jingliang over 1.5, which is like minus 150. It ended up closing at minus 210 or something like that. And they were playing patty cake for like 4.5 minutes before Li Jingliang's like, screw this, unleashes an overhand left and just deads Ponzinibbio. So I'm staying the hell away from overs. Good luck to you on that one, especially with 2 guys that are primarily strikers. That would have me shit in my pants. But again, both guys are both durable, and I can see that cashing. But I'll go with Zalal to win this fight via decision.
It is so hard watching a fight when you have a bet on the over, man. It's like literally one of the most stressful things out there.
I'm an under guy.
I mean, unders are much easier to deal with, that's for sure. I feel like the value is mostly in overs, though.
Yeah.
Because of that reason, you know, it is more, you know, fun for maybe a casual bettor to bet an under. I'm sure unders get more money. So maybe, you know, that makes it so there's more value on overs. And I you know, I feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, moving on to the next fight, this, yeah, we got Molly McCann. She's minus 155. She's taking on Laura Procopio plus 135. I'll let you start with this one, man.
Yeah, I actually have a bet on Procopio here at plus 140. I thought some solid value there, and I thought I was going to be one of the few guys that actually saw the value here on Procopio. But now we're starting to see the line close a little bit more, and I think people are seeing what I'm seeing. Like I don't understand the Molly McCann love. You know what I mean? Like she goes out there and beats a girl and Denise, what was her name? Balbitsa or whatever it was. We're talking about a woman who willingly took down Liana Jojua into her own game and lost via submission in that fight, armbar, right? So for McCann to go out there and grapple fuck her and beat her the way that she did, a lot of people had this perception that Molly McCann was this crazy wrestler that would be able to do it to other people. Tyler Santos, obviously, her next fight, right? But that first like 2.5 minutes of her fight with Balbita, she's getting lit up on the feet, which is why she goes to the wrestling and eventually just grapple fucks her there. But here with Procopio, a lot of people are going to be kind of they're going to be turned off by Procopio in terms of her ability to get the fight to the ground if the only fight they've ever seen is her fight against Carl Rosa or Hosa. We saw Hosa go out there and absolutely batter her. I think she landed 170 strikes on her and showed great, movement, good boxing, and was able to keep Procopio on the outside. But even in that loss, and even though it looks so one-sided, Procopio still went out there and landed 160 strikes of her own as well too. And Hosa was a little bit beat up as well. But I think it was the fact that Procopio waited so long to start going for those takedowns, which is why I was so telegraphed. Here with McCann, I think we can see her, complete these body lock trip takedowns, which is something that Molly McCann has been susceptible to in the past. And Procopio that was pretty much her regional scene, like going out there, taking her girls down, using her brown belt at the time. She's now a black belt. And she's like submitting these girls, TKOing these girls, ground and pounding these girls. And she's still quite young. She's only like 25 years old. she's coming off a USADA suspension, and I look at what it was, and it seemed to be something that was for like muscle and joint recovery or something like that. So I'm not reading too much into it. But another factor in this fight is the fact that she's fighting at 125 pounds, whereas with that Karol Hosa fight, she was fighting at 135. So she's at the proper weight class she should be at now. I think she should be able to get her hands around McCann, drag this fight to the ground, and eventually pull off a submission. And I like my long shot props. If you've been following me for a while now, plus 925 is the last I saw Procopio to win via submission, and that's the spot that I'm looking at here. I think she can get McCann down. I think she can control her, and I think she can pull off the submission. I don't think McCann, like, she's primarily a boxer, but she doesn't have that pop on her shots that makes me think that she's going to go out there and finish a girl like Procopio on the feet, nor do I think she'll be able to keep the distance and keep her at bay the way Karol Hosa did. So I like the dog money on Procopio. A lot of people are going to be, blinded by her fight against Hosa, but look a little bit deeper and you'll see what I see. And then again, some people are seeing it, which is why the line is starting to close a little more now. But I got Procopio. I think she poses off. I'll try to call my shot here. I'll say second round sub, but I think she's very live to submit Molly McCann here.
Do you play DraftKings at all, man?
Yeah, so I like dabbled in it over the last year and a half, 2 years, and then I just got that show with Sal Vetri for his DFS show, and now I'm like getting into it as much as possible. So I'm all over DFS now.
Yeah, man. Based on what you just said, you should be all over Procopio and DraftKings. That's for sure. And man, when you said you have a bet on this fight, I was hoping you were going to say Procopio because this is clearly a dog or pass situation, in my opinion. I've had a lot of bad luck with the women's fights lately, so I'm just kind of laying low on that for now. But yeah, I mean, I'd say even plus 125 or up on Procopio. I can't hate on that at all. I feel like she should get the better of the striking here. It's just pretty much a question of if Molly McCann can get her down, and I don't know. It's just tough to say. We haven't seen enough of Procopio. She, like you said, she's super young. I guess kind of like what I was talking about with Ode, you're kind of betting on the ceiling with Procopio because, I mean, she's clearly not, I wouldn't say fully developed, whereas Molly McCann has gone out there with, a lot of, I wouldn't say high level, but she's fought, a who's who in the division. So she's definitely got the experience edge. It's just tough to call. Like, I would never bet her at a favorite price, especially recently. It's just not looking good. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I've been struggling on who I'm gonna pick here, but I'll roll with you, man. I'll say Procopio pulls off the upset here. You got to pick some underdogs on this show, right? So I'll go with Procopio. I'll say she gets a decision though, 29-28. And yeah, on a card where I'm actually not picking a lot of underdogs, I haven't looked at the DK salaries just yet. I know they're out, but if Procopio is like, 76 and down, could stick her in some lineups for sure. It might not be high scoring, but like, I say it every week. If you get a slate where only one or two underdogs win, and even if those underdogs don't score high, a lot of the time they can still end up on the optimal lineup. I've seen 70-point underdogs land on optimal lineups all the time. So it's like, if you think an underdog's going to win, for sure, plug them into lineups all day long. So yeah, moving on to the next fight, man. We got, let me get it here. We got another new fight, man. We got Justin James and Devontae King Cage Smith. King Cage, he opens a big favorite. He is minus 280. Justin James plus 240. I'll start with this one. Much different fight. Holy shit. I was actually interested in Devontae Smith against Alex Laco da Silva. I don't like that gas tank on da Silva, and I figured if he didn't sub Devontae Smith early, I thought Devontae would TKO him late, but much different fight here. But I kind of think I'm going with the same outcome. I'm going with Devontae Smith via a late TKO. We've seen gas tank issues from Justin James mix in the short notice. So he's going to it's pretty obvious what's going to happen here, guys. Justin James comes out like a bat out of hell in that first round, like he always does. He is a powerful guy. I'll give him that. He's got power for sure. Even in his loss against Gavin Tucker, he hurt him early. I mean, Frank Camacho fight, like, dude has power. I mean, it's definitely scary to lay a minus 300 on Devontae here, especially, he's coming off a knockout loss, been gone for a while, and he's coming back against a KO artist who starts off strong. So this is like a complete pass in my eyes. I'm sure the line is gigantic on doesn't go to decision, but if there was any way to go on it, it would be that. Yeah, minus 380. If you want to throw doesn't go to decision into parlays here, it's like, yeah, I'm down for that. This is probably one of the fights I'm going to target most on DraftKings. So I'm going to go with Devontae Smith. I'm going to say he weathers the early storm and TKOs Justin James late. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm staying the hell away from this fight, especially at those odds, right? Like the way that I look at it, I'd need at least a minus 150 to put money on Devontae Smith, and I need at least a plus 300 to put some money on Justin James, or even plus 350 to be honest. Both guys have possible chin issues. Justin James did get finished to the body last time against Gabriel Benitez. I'm the biggest Justin James fader out there. I faded him twice in his last two fights. It paid off for me both times, but the last time we saw him come in on short notice was against Frank Camacho. And what did he do? Go out there, just put it on Camacho right away and knocked him out. So I feel like he might have to come into this fight with the same mentality. Like the fact that this fight is taking place at 160 pounds makes me believe that he truly wasn't ready to go, but was just like, hey, I'm in Vegas. I live here. You guys need somebody. I'll jump in, but just make sure it's 160. So I can just at least go out there and maybe give you guys 3 minutes of hell. And if I'm not able to get the knockout there, I'm probably going to get put out. So given their power, like it's almost a 55-45 fight here, percentage wise, but you got to go with the explosiveness, the speed, and the abilities of Devontae Smith. I'm not completely sold on the fact that he's super chinny, but when you put him in there against a guy like Justin James, who can absolutely put your lights out, you got to be a little bit careful. But we're talking about, I believe, either a 6 or 8 inch reach advantage here for Devontae Smith. Again, he's going to be quicker. He's going to be faster. I like that he's training over there, Factory X as well, another Factory X guy. But yeah, I'm not at the current odds. I'm not touching it. There's no way this fight goes to decision. I'd be absolutely surprised, because if Justin James doesn't put him out early, Devontae Smith could put him out early, but I think he can put him out later too, because Justin James does show a very lacking gas tank at times, right? And another aspect of this fight is that Justin James is a decent wrestler. He just never shows it because he likes to throw his bungalows, right? But I think if he goes out there and tries to wrestle Devontae Smith, he's going to gas himself out quicker. And then again, if you're taking this fight on short notice, it's very, very tough. So I do think Devontae wins. I'm not sure how exposed to him I'll be on DraftKings, just because of that possible KO coming back the other way. But yeah, I think Devontae wins this fight. From a betting perspective, I'm not touching it. I'd be interested to see what the first round KO prop is for either guy. You guys know I'm a props guy. We only have the in the distance here. We got Smith in this distance at minus 155 and James inside the distance at plus 325. So neither really appeals to me too much. And even on DraftKings, what do we got them for pricing wise?
Probably not out yet.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they don't have it out. You're right. Speaking of which, Procopio, they have it 7,700 if it means anything. But yeah, in terms of Smith and James, I'll go with Smith, first round knockout.
All right, moving on to the next fight, man. This is one that's gotten a lot of line movement. We got Carol Hosa. She's minus 225, taking on Jocelyn Edwards, plus 185. Shout out to my boy, UFC Bro Picks, Justin. We like to tease Justin when he botches the line really badly. I think he got Jocelyn Edwards plus 150. I'm seeing her around plus 200 on some books today. Man, I kind of wasn't really expecting that line movement either, to be honest. Although yeah. I'm not as confident in Jocelyn as Justin is. I mean, Carol Hosa is my pick here, but damn, at the plus 200s I'm seeing, like, I like the talent I see from Jocelyn and her striking. Like, I do think she has some, I would say, for women's standards, above average power. You know, she's got some length to her. You know, she moves well in there. She's clearly very green. Her last fight against Yanan and Wu, like, it's a little bit of a shit show, let's be honest. But hey, she dominated it for sure. I would say I thought she won all 3 rounds. But even going back before that, so really, if you look at Jocelyn Edwards' record, though, only 2 like really notable girls she fought. Yanan Wu, just talked about that fight. Other one was Sarah Alpar, who we saw in the UFC against Jessie Rose Clark. Man, that was another shit show fight. Sarah Alpar was basically landing every single takedown she shot on Jocelyn Edwards. To Jocelyn's credit, she reversed a lot, and she definitely made that fight competitive. But man, she's really green. Whereas Carol Hosa, like, she might not look like she has that many more fights, but she has a lot of kickboxing experience down in Brazil. Like, plus, you know, she's had a couple of UFC fights now, so I would give her the experience edge here. I just feel like she might not have the the power of Jocelyn, but I feel like Carol's a little further along with the technique, and I feel like the further this fight goes, she's probably going to start picking Jocelyn apart as the fight goes on. So I feel like she can mix in those takedowns as well, man. We've clearly seen an issue in Jocelyn's takedown defense game, and that shit just doesn't get fixed overnight. So I kind of think Carol Rosa can win this fight wherever it goes. Do I agree with the minus 200s? We'll see. I don't know. I don't know if it'll play out that way. Either way, I'm staying away from this fight. Who do you got, man?
Yeah, I think Hosa opened up around that minus 170 mark. And I was kind of hoping that we'd see money coming on Edwards, given that she had such a successful UFC debut. So I was hoping, I'm like, okay, I'll wait for that minus 150. Now I'll pull my trigger on Hosa. But it completely went the other way. We got minus 225 now for Hosa. And a little bit surprising. I think the line is wide. I do think that Edwards has some potential, but I think that this is a tough stylistic matchup for her in terms of, like, she did go up against another volume girl in her last fight against Yinan Wu, but we're talking about a girl here in Carol Hosa who was volume, but also has great technique, some good pop on her shots as well too. And I just love her combinations, man. Like she's always throwing like 3 or 4 punch combinations, ending them with kicks. Like I love the variety of strikes that we're seeing from her and her ability to just keep on it too, right? That's the big thing here is that she's just not just throwing one and done. That's what I don't like a lot about some of these fighters. With Hosa, she has a couple, or not with Hosa, with Edwards, she has a couple, Muay Thai tricks up her sleeve. She likes to use her elbows. I was just looking up quickly how many strikes that Hosa has landed in her last 2 fights alone. It's close to 300 strikes that she's landed. She landed 171 against Procopio and 120 against Vanessa Mello last time around. And she did throw in 2 takedowns there as well too against Vanessa. But I think she just has a much more complete game. You know what I mean? I think that training with Jessica Andrade, training down at that PVRT gym that she's at, she's getting a lot of good looks. And Edwards, as impressed as I was by her, even by her tape, even in that loss to Sarah Alpar you're talking about, she got taken down pretty much at will, but she got right back to her feet. She was defending a lot. She was doing a lot of damage. And I wouldn't be mad at anybody that actually scored that fight for her. If I'm not mistaken, it was a split decision that Alpar took that night, right? So Edwards has potential. I just don't like the fact that she's at this no-name gym in the middle of Iowa, I think it is, or something like that. Like, you got to go out and stretch out and branch out and start training with other people that give you better looks. I don't want to shit on her coaches or anything like that. They're probably great, but when you're fighting at this level, you got to go out there and get different looks. You can't just be training with somebody who's like a part-time teacher or something like that, just coming in to get their reps in with some MMA training. So I like Hosa. I think she's just going to have much more in the toolbox. She can mix in the takedowns if she wants as well too. I don't think the Muay Thai of Edwards here is going to come into play as much as it did against Wu Yanan. I think we'll just see Hosa go out there, pick her apart, be the more disciplined fighter. Minus 225 is a little bit steep for me. Possible parlay piece, but I'm not writing home about that yet. So I'll take Hosa. I think she wins this fight via decision.
Speaking of parlay pieces, man, I got one in this next fight. We got yet another new fight. We got Timur Valliev. He's taking on Martin Day. Valliev, I got him at minus 330. Let's see if it's still sticking around there on Bet Online. Yeah, it's still minus 330 on Bet Online. I put him in a parlay with somebody else we'll talk about on the main card. I mean, this is honestly not just a fade on Martin Day. I actually like Timur Valliev a lot, and I feel like if this fight were to get booked before he got knocked out by that dude, Trevin Jones, he'd probably be a much higher favorite in this spot. But like, that was such a, I mean, that just dropped most hype that Valliev had. And Valliev actually had a lot of hype going into the UFC. He was booked a weight class above. He's normally a bantamweight. He was booked at featherweight against Jamal Emmers, and he was like minus 220 against Jamal Emmers. I actually bet on Jamal Emmers before the fight got canceled. I got like plus 185. I'm like, dude, this is a big size difference here. Timur is a 145 or 135 pounder for sure. But it didn't matter. He fought Trevin, who's also a bantamweight. But like, it's just so weird how that fight went down. Like, I almost want to say I don't want to count it, but yeah, no, it fucking happened, man. It was so crazy. One of the biggest like actual betting upsets of the year. If you want to look at the line, I think it was like minus 600 in that fight or something very big, maybe even more. But he's coming back here, man. Against Martin Day. I don't know, man. Martin Day. I thought Martin Day was much better than what he's shown to be, honestly. Like, I actually did bet on Davy Grant against him as an underdog in that fight, but like, it didn't even go down how I thought. I thought Davy Grant was about to wrestle Martin Day and grapple Martin Day, but Davy Grant looked probably the best on the feet that he has in years. Knocked Martin and Day out cold clean. Wasn't even the way I was expecting. Then he even lost his most recent fight against Dos Santos. That one was in the way I thought it would be. You know, he got submitted. I just think this kid has too many holes in his game, to be honest. I don't think he is I don't want to disrespect the guy. He's certainly tough, that's for sure. But like, I don't know. I don't think he's UFC level. Timur Valliev, I do think he's UFC level. I just think his stock might be a little dropped with some people right now because of his last fight. But like, dude, I ain't even counting that shit. Like, once Timur starts fighting at his real weight class, 135, and I think he's gonna make some waves. I think he's a really well-rounded guy. I like his striking. I like his wrestling. He's a winner too. He's 16-2, man. Would be 16-3, but that Trevin Jones fight, no contest. Yeah, I just think Timur is going to be too much. I like him on the feet. I think he can wrestle. Yeah, he should probably be a bigger favorite than minus 330. So give me him in a parlay all day long. Who you got, man?
I think I know what part that you're talking about, and I might be right there with you once I get these odds on my websites. But yeah, I like Timur here as well too. I'm not a big fan of Martin Day. Again, like you said, he makes a lot of mistakes. The one thing that I just can't get over in that Davy Grant fight, Davy Grant is hitting him with the exact same combinations for 3 rounds. And we see no adjustment from Martin Day, and then eventually it catches up to him, and we see Davy Grant put him out in that third round. In the Anderson dos Santos fight, like I kind of called it to the point that I picked Anderson to win, but I thought it would have probably been a third round, him getting beaten up for 2.5 and then pulling off a submission. But it seemed like maybe 2 minutes into that fight, Dos Santos is just like, okay, this is the way the fight's going to go. He's just going to pick me apart from range. I'm just going to step forward, bite down on my mouthpiece, and throw some bombs. He lands a couple bombs, eventually gets Martin Day to the ground. He had to work for those takedowns, eventually gets it to the ground. Martin Day does a good job, gets his butterfly guard back, pushes him off, and for some goddamn reason, poor fight IQ goes out there and takes him down, and not just takes him down, slams him down, just lifts him over his head, leaves his neck completely exposed. And we know Anderson dos Santos, the black belt that he is, you give him that neck on a silver platter, he's going to take it home with him. That's exactly what he did that night. So things like that just it grinds my gears with guys who are just as talented as Martin Day. Like on the feet, he seems to have all the tools. Technically speaking, he's a great striker, but he just makes too many mistakes. And I think he's almost doing a favor for the UFC here to take this fight on short notice because he's 0-3 now. I thought going into that fight with Dos Santos, that was a loser leaves town type of match. However, Martin Day still here. He's doing a favor for the UFC. I think even if he loses this match, the UFC is going to be like, you know what? You stepped in, you did a favor for us. We'll give you one more shot. You can possibly go 0-5 in the UFC, but it's fine because you helped us out with this Timur Valliev fight. But yeah, you're right, man. Valliev pretty much hasn't beat everywhere. I don't think that we should weigh that knockout against Trevin Jones as much as we did. Like you saw it in that first round where he almost got Jones out of there. He was literally throwing everything and the kitchen sink at him and was still not able to get him out of there. He absolutely blew his wad. Trevin Jones takes advantage, finishes him in that second round. I don't think we see that type of Valliev come out. I think we see a little bit more of a composed Valliev, managing his distance, getting this fight to the ground when he needs to as well. Martin Day has decent takedown defense, but if you work it enough or if you hide it well enough, you should be able to get it down. And I do think that Valliev is one of the better guys there for sure. If I'm not mistaken, he's out of that Mark Henry training camp. He's like one of those Magomed Sharipov guys who likes his spinning shit, doesn't mind throwing in a takedown a year every now and then. But like you said, 16-2, should be 16-3, but the guy's a winner. He is a winner. I don't mind paying the juice on him here against a guy like Martin Day as well. I don't think that Martin Day really has the power to put this guy out either. So, yeah, I like Valliev all day here. I wouldn't be surprised if you finished him, but I wouldn't also be surprised if we see him go out there and try to play it safe, especially coming off that knockout loss that he did. Hopefully it doesn't fuck with him too much mentally, but he should go out there and absolutely smoke this kid. So, yeah, I liked more, and I think he's truly deserving of being at that chalk line that he's at.
All right, so moving on to the next one that, I thought about this one as a parlay leg, but I can't do it. You got Mike Rodriguez. He's minus 245. Taking on Danilo Marquez plus 205. Man, this is I mean, I got Mike Rodriguez, of course. I just said I thought about parlaying him, and I do like him to win this fight a lot, man. I don't really with Danilo Marks, like the first thing I think of is just no athleticism, like just the way he moves in there. It's not very good. I will give him this. He's a pretty good grappler, like what I've seen from him on the ground. Like he's got some BJJ, and we've seen problems with Mike Rodriguez on the grappling before. So I feel like Danilo, like there's a path there for him. So I just don't even want to fuck around and parlay Mike Rodriguez at minus 250. But like, man, Mike Rodriguez has taken care of guys of this level before. I think he can do it again. Like, dude's big for the division. Like, he's got some power. I feel like he can just come in here, light Danilo up, put him away early. But like, oh man, Mike Rodriguez, like the fucking Ed Herman fight, even going back to the John Alon fight, like just so many fights that he should have won and he didn't. But yeah, so this is just a big pass for me. I don't even. It's tough to talk about this fight just because like there's so many different ways it could go and it's a shit show. But Mike Rodriguez should win. Who you got?
I'm all over Mike Rodriguez here. And I think a lot of people are going to be, I think a lot of people are going to have some FOMO after the fact because like they might read into the Ed Herman fight a little bit too much. Let's not forget the fact that he finished him again in that third round. Any other referee probably would have stopped that ground and pound that Mike Rodriguez was throwing on Ed Herman. So he gasses himself out, beating the shit out of Ed Herman, and then gets Kimura'd. So we got to add that little bit of an asterisk into it. It's not like he just, got Kimura'd. He blew his wad trying to get Ed Herman out of there and did get him out of there. Unfortunately, Ed Herman, the vet that he is, plays it up, eventually pulls through and then pulls off that Kimura. But man, the Danilo Marquez and a Khadis Ibragimov fight was like to determine who the worst fighter in the UFC is. Like now that we're rid of Suman Mkhitaryan and Ashkan Mkhitaryan, let's see who really is the worst fighter in the UFC. And Khadis Ibragimov wins that honor. However, I think Danilo Marquez is still like a notch right there in terms of one of the worst fighters in the UFC. The guy's 35 years old, does not look comfortable at all striking on the feet. He's huge. I think he's like 6'6" or something like that. Massive guy, 6'5", I think he is. Most people will recognize him for being in Shogun Hua's corner in his last couple fights. He's a BJJ black belt under Damian Maia. But like personally, I wasn't that impressed from what I saw from him on the ground, especially against super low level competition over his last couple fights. The fight against what's the kid's name that was on the Ultimate Fighter? Myron Dennis. Myron Dennis, obviously a striker, should have gone out there and absolutely starched this kid, but it just didn't seem like he was putting much on his shots. He's going out there and trying to keep the distance and just putting out pitter-patter shots. And I felt like if we saw him go out there and really put on a kickboxing clinic, he probably would have put out Danilo Marquez. I don't think Marquez is good at all. I think he's absolutely dog shit. I think that like his only hope is dragging this fight to the ground, which could happen, but I think it's not as likely as Rodriguez going out there and absolutely starching this kid, especially if they start to tie up with each other. I think the Muay Thai of Rodriguez is going to come into play here. We'll see him kind of just batter him, just almost like he did against Marcin Prachnio, and just put him out that way. But yeah, I just don't see Danilo being able to handle the striking of Rodriguez here. Another angle of this as well, too. We got Rodriguez, who's a southpaw. We got our orthodox from Marquez. I think that body kick's going to be open all day. He has to be very careful about it, too, because I heard him say something on a recent interview saying that he's not going to be kicking as much out of respect of possibly getting taken down. But I think that could be a bit of a smoke screen, if anything. Like if you're the better striker in that type of scenario where you have opposite stances, you need to take advantage of that body kick. And I feel like we've seen the body kicks from Mike Rodriguez. They're absolutely hell. And I don't know how Marquez is really going to be able to deal with that. Marquez is training over there at Kings MMA, but I think that's just a tie with Shogun and Rafael Cordero and those guys. So I don't think it's much to read into. And especially at 35 years old, how much more is he really adding to his game? You know what I mean? So I truly think Marquez is dog shit. I think he's horrible. If Mike Rodriguez loses this fight, he should just stop fighting, period. But I think Rodriguez goes in there and starches him. I have him as a huge play. I took the shot on him. I took it at minus 220. I actually had him parlayed with Cody Stamann when Stamann was scheduled to fight Andre Ewell. Obviously, that fight falls apart. Now I got 5 units straight on Rodriguez at minus 220. But yeah, I do not think highly of Marquez at all. I don't think, like, Khadis was supposed to be that guy to put out Marquez, but We know Hadis is not that good. Mike Rodriguez, people have questions about because of the Ed Herman fight and his fight against Da Un Young. Da Un Young, has way better striking than Marquez. Again, Marquez needs to like desperation takedowns, try to get this to the ground. I don't think he's going to be successful in doing so. And I think we'll see Rodriguez absolutely smash this guy. So again, I think a lot of people are going to have FOMO and be like, of course, this guy fucking sucks. But I get the hesitancy from some people. I'm not hesitant at all here. I think Rodriguez just smokes him.
Fair enough. So moving on, main event of the prelims. This is another one, man, where I thought we could have a parlay piece going on here, but can't do it. We got Michael Johnson. He is, let's see what the line on this is now. I think he's around, he's minus 220. Clay Guida plus 180. Man, I mean, there's no bigger example than a hot and cold fighter than Michael Johnson. Like, look at some of the guys he's beaten, the Dustin Poiriers of the world, the Edson Barbosas of the world, some really great fighters. And then you look at some of the guys he lost to, like what? He lost to Stevie Ray. He lost to Reza Madadi. He lost to Miles Jury. Jonathan Brookins back in the day. It's like, you can't trust inconsistency. So it's like, you can't bet Michael Johnson at minus 220 here. It's probably a dogger pass situation, especially with a longtime vet like Clay Guida. But a big question for me here is how far gone is Clay Guida? Because I remember Clay Guida, I thought he might have had a little bit of resurgence there for a little while when you remember when he like ran through Joe Lozon in like 30 seconds, but then 2 fights later he was fucking losing rounds to BJ Penn. It's like, oh my God, Clay, what are you doing? So I don't know. I feel like Michael Johnson, he's inconsistent, but he's more in his prime than Clay for sure. I feel like Michael Johnson should be able to outstrike Clay Guida here, like easily, barring a stunt, maybe even knock him out. But you have seen some problems in Michael Johnson's wrestling, so I could see Clay Guida going that route as well. It's just, do I want to trust Clay Guida to put a wrestling clinic on in 2021? Not really. So again, another really big pass fight for me. I'm trying to decide if I like Michael Johnson for a knockout here, because if so, he could be a good DraftKings play. I just don't know, man. It's just Michael Johnson fights are like true gambles. So I'm good. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I'm absolutely in the same boat as you. I'm gonna pick Guida, but it's not with much confidence at all. It's almost just a pure fade on Michael Johnson, who continuously goes out there and drops the ball. We got Johnson plus 245 to win by KO. Not sexy enough for me, to be honest, especially the stunts that he's been pulling as of late. But man, like you said, like when he beat Edson Barboza, he improved his record to 16-8. And now we're in 2021. 6 years later, he's 19-16. He's only gone. He's gone 3 of, what is that? I can't even do my math on the spot. 3 of 8 in his last like 11 fights or some shit. Like, it's been absolutely insane that he goes out there and continuously drops the ball. Like, I don't get it. This is the most talented guy with the record that he has. Easily the most talented guy. But for some reason, just goes out there and shits the bed. The Thiago Moises fight, man. That's a fight for you to go out there and showcase your striking. Go out there. First round looks amazing. Exactly what we expected from Michael Johnson. And then second round, 26 seconds into the second round, gets leg locked. Like, what? Are you kidding me, dude? I just don't get it. The Stevie Ray fight, another one, drops the first round, wins the second round, looks great. And then in that third round, just stumbles. And we see Stevie Ray just grind him out for the majority of that third round. Even picked up a 10-8 on one of the cards, I think it was. But it's so tough, man. It's way too tough to bet a Michael Johnson fight, especially when he like clearly has the skill advantage here against Clay Guida. But something that we saw from Clay Guida in his last fight against Bobby Green is that he's still able to go out there and complete takedowns. So I wouldn't be surprised if we just see Clay Guida just, grind him, man, just push him up against the cage and accrue some control time and just make it a really tough fight. He has a decent chin still, in my opinion, but I do think that Michael Johnson could put him out with a precise shot. But yeah, I don't trust him. Whoever puts money on Michael Johnson above minus 200 this weekend, y'all got some nuts on you, because I don't. I don't. I'm going with Guida. I'll say by decision, but with very little confidence.
Main card, moving on. This fight, I mean, damn, I'm pissed one guy has to lose in this fight, because we got Diego Fajia. He's minus 120. He's taking on Beneil Daryush plus 100. Rematch. This is another rematch. We were talking about Poirier McGregor. rematch. I think this was around the same time. I think CDF and Beneil, when they fought the first time, same year as that rematch, 2014. I could be wrong though, but yeah, Beneil won the first one. He grappled CDF. He took him down, held him down for the majority. Just, we know how Beneil Dariush is, but I mean, Carlos Diego Fajia, his grappling, I mean, his overall game has improved so much. Like, I feel like you can't even look at that fight when you break this fight down. Like, both guys have changed so much. Beneil Dariush is out here fucking knocking dudes out with spinning shit every other fight. I mean, man, and I'm a huge fan of both these guys too. That's why I said I don't want to see one of these guys lose, because I feel like they're both on like a big career resurgence right now. I know when Fajia beat Tysumov, that was like a big one to me, because I remember Tysumov was like, everyone talked about Tysumov in the hardcore MMA Twitter sphere, and then he lost that fight, and like it's like we never hear from him again. And that was a huge, huge win. I think people kind of forget about that, and people just have kind of forgotten about Tysumov. But guys, that dude Tysumov is one of the best strikers, period. And Fajia, he did really well. He got clipped early, I want to say. And Fajia actually does get clipped early a lot. Like, you can even go look at the Kyle Nelson fight. Kyle Nelson hurt Fajia early there. Like, Fajia is certainly a slow starter here, man. So, and Beneil is actually the opposite. He's been a fast starter. There's been a lot of fights where Beneil has started fast and he's kind of slowed down. Like, you look at the Evan Dunham fight, which turned into a draw. So I'm kind of thinking Beneil early here. If he strikes, I mean, I don't know. I feel like CDF has evolved his striking in a better way than Daryush, whereas I feel like it's more technical, whereas Daryush has just like added new tools. Like, you see him throwing a lot of the spinning shit. Whereas CDF, like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like that Fortis work has really turned him into a great striker. So I give CDF the edge on the feet here, man. I think Benny has to come out and do what he did in the first fight, honestly, and that's takedowns. And I mean, yeah, we've seen it lately, but against Drew Dober, who we know has holes in his grappling game. Somebody else, Tiago Moises, who made his debut. That was like, green kid taking on a vet and Dariush. I just think this is a much different fight for Benny. I'm going to go with CDF here, man. I just feel like he's evolved himself into a real, he's like a top 10 threat, man. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he beat some guys in the top 10. I feel like he outstrikes Daryush here. I'm not sure how the grappling is going to go this time. I feel like it could be different, but I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't have a good read on this fight. I feel like it is deservedly around the pick'em range, but I'll go with CDF. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I actually have 2 units on Diego Fajeda here. I like him. I got him at -120. And I love instances like this where we get guys that fought earlier in their careers, and now we got roughly about a 6 or 7 year difference since when we first saw them fight, and we can see the progression of both guys. And I mean specifically for Diego Fajeda, who I now call Fortis Fajeda, because the guy has looked amazing since he changed camps, right? He actually changed camps before the Dustin Poirier fight. Obviously gets knocked out in that one. That was the fight right after the Beneil Dariush fight. But since then, hasn't lost a fight, goes on there and goes on, I believe, a 6 or 7 fight winning streak. And I'm glad you brought up the Tysumov fight too, because he went into that fight as a plus 200 dog. Everybody, including myself, was all over Tysumov. I still think he has something left to give to the cage, but I just wish we saw him more often. But even in the Rustam Khabilov fight, he goes in there as a plus 120 dog, goes out there and stuffs the takedowns, or even when he gets taken down, gets right back to his feet. And the change that we've seen in Fajeda is that nonstop pressure that continuously stay in your face. Don't let you get comfortable. Stick the jab out there. Stick the 1-2 out there. Just stay in your face and just don't let you get your game going. Don't let you get comfortable. And I think that's paying dividends for him here, huge. And in terms of his striking, it's definitely made a ton of strides compared to when we first saw him in the UFC. When you watch that Beneil Dariush fight, you see him like just kind of stiff and not looking comfortable at all on the feet. But now you see him like going out there, hopping on his feet a little bit, changing stances and throwing some good shots. And we've seen just as good improvements from Beneil Dariush on the feet too, right? Like, you're putting in way more time now at Kings MMA with Rafael Cordeiro. Your striking looks great. He looks comfortable on the feet as well too. But one thing that we've been seeing from Daryush as of late, like you were saying, is he doesn't mind a firefight. Like, he's going to go out there, he's going to throw spinning shit. He doesn't mind getting clipped a couple times to throw his but I think at a certain point it's going to catch up to him. And the weird part about this is that Fajita is 5 years older than him. We got Fajita coming in at 36, Daryush at 31, but I still do think that we'll have I still do think that we'll see Fajita go out there, just push the pressure, stay in his face. I think if this does turn into a grappling match, I don't think it will be as one-sided as it was last time around. Like Fajita is a high-level black belt himself too, right? But now that he's totally comfortable in the MMA sphere, where we see him striking, we see him staying in people's faces, I think that will allow him to stay more aware. Like even when he got taken down by Khabibulov, he's not settling on the ground. The guy's right back up. The guy just knows he can't be down on his back. He can't be losing a round or losing any time, losing precious seconds and minutes in each round. And I think Sayif Saud has definitely drilled that in his head now. And I think it's a huge thing for him from going, being self-taught in his own head coach in his first fight against Beneil Dariush, and now spending as much time as he does with Sayif Saud and those guys at Fortis is just helping him. Like, you go through his IG, the guy looks in phenomenal shape. Like, that this guy knows this is a huge fight for him. And then this is a great barometer for him as well, too, to see where he was when he first came into the UFC and where he's at now, and all these, all the changes and improvements that he's made. So, yeah, I really like Beneil here. I really like Fajita here. And you do bring up good points also in the fact that we've seen Fajita get clipped a couple times. The Kyle Nelson fight, that's Kyle Nelson's bread and butter, though. Like, I've been following Kyle Nelson since he was an amateur, since he's from up here in the Ontario area. The guy hits hard. He goes out there, tries to knock these guys out. And he took that the Diego Fajita fight on super short notice as well. So he knew in his mind that he had to go out there, put it on Fajita, and possibly put him out. Almost did, but he just wasn't able to follow through with it. Taisumov also rocks Fajita nice and early in their fight. Doesn't drop him, so he doesn't record a knockdown or anything like that, but he lands something on him. But what does Fajita do? Come right back, stay in his face, and just keep it going. So I love this Diego Fajita that we're getting. I'm loving everything that we're seeing from him. I think this Russian roulette game that Daryush is playing is just going to catch up to him, and this is that opponent that it will catch up to him with. So I could see a possible late finish for Fajita here, especially if Daryush comes out guns a-blazing. And like you said, we've seen him kind of start to slow down later in fights when he tries to get guys out of there nice and early. But I could see this also be slowing down a little bit with Fajita just staying in his face, not letting him get comfortable, and just kind of just pitter-pattering him to a decision victory. So I'll go with Fajita via decision. But I really like him in this spot. I'm very happy that the odds are as close as they are, because truly they should be. But I do think that we've seen more progression from Fajita than we've seen from Daryush. And Daryush, it could be, he could have lost that fight to Dragar close if his chin didn't hold up as well as it did. He was the one that was rocked and hurt before that sequence started, right? Even his fight against Scott Holtzman, taking some big shots there too. Luckily pulls out a spinning back fist out of his ass and knocks him out. Again, Daryush is just winning by slivers, whereas Fajita's going out there and just beating these guys. Like, I think he averages like 260 strikes attempted over his last 6 fights or some shit like that. Like, absolutely insane the amount of strikes we're seeing out of him. Output, Fortis Fajita for champ 2022. Get it to me, baby.
So moving on, we got another new fight here. I'll start with this one because this is going to be the other half of my parlay with Timur Valliev. We got Cody Stamann. He is minus 380. He's taking on Askar. He's plus 315. Yeah, I watched a little tape on Askar right away, and I'm solid on Cody Stamann here, man. Always been high on Cody Stamann. We were talking about Timur earlier in the show, who I called him a winner. Cody Stamann's a damn winner, man. He's another one of these guys that finds ways to win fights. He's got a good skill set. He's not the flashiest striker. He doesn't throw a lot of, kicks, but like he's got sharp enough hands to where he can, and he keeps a lot of guys at bay with the wrestling too, like, threaten the wrestling, and he's able to open up more with the boxing too. And I'll give him credit, man. His boxing has come a long way now. I actually did bet against Stamann against Jimmy Rivera, but just because I thought that was a bad matchup for Stamann, because I can't tell you the exact number, but Jimmy Rivera has at least a 90% takedown defense. It might even be as high as like 95 or 97, like something ridiculous. And I figured Jimmy Rivera, I would give him the slight edge on the feet. I actually took Jimmy Rivera to win that fight by decision. Even sweeter, it was like plus 150. Jimmy, he's a decisionator, so that was a nice one. But this is a different matchup. This is not a Jimmy Rivera. We got a newcomer here in Askar, who I don't think Askar is that bad at all. Like he might even be well deserved of this UFC call, but man, to make your debut against Cody Stamann, who, I said it, man, he's got the wrestling, he's got the boxing. Um, I think he can win this fight wherever it goes. Honestly, man, it's another one of those spots like the Timur fight where I feel safe in all areas of the fight. And when I feel safe in all areas of the fight, that's a good spot to bet, even if it is super chalky. That's what parlays are for. So yeah, I got Cody Stamann here to dominate Askar here. I'm gonna say he takes a decision. Yeah, I mean, look at Askar's record. He actually he got knocked out in 39 seconds actually last year in 2020 by a Russian cat. But Cody Stamann, he doesn't have that kind of power. I'm not expecting no KO win here, so I'll go with him by decision. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I had Cody Stamann in that parlay with Mike Rodriguez when he was originally scheduled to fight Andre Ewell. And if I'm betting him there, I'm definitely betting him here against the guy in Askar, who, 5-inch reach advantage compared to the 10.5 that he originally had to go up against with Ewell. And in terms of size, the guy's only an inch taller than him. So I don't think he has too much to worry about there. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Cody Stamann's a winner. The guy goes out there and he gets the job done regardless. I was with you on the Rivera play as well too. Stylistically, not a good matchup for him, but again, like Rivera, very good takedown defense. Definitely the better striker there as well too, working with those Showman brothers. So that was a bad stylistic matchup for Stamann for sure. But here, like I just don't see what Askar really brings to the table that could give Stamann problems. Like he looks mainly to be a striker that uses his range, his distance quite well at times, but he doesn't have the craziest pop on his shots that makes me believe that it'll keep Stamann at bay. So I think that Stamann, a lot more comfortable on the feet than people give him credit for. And he has great kicking game. He has great hands, great combinations, and he does a really good job of hiding his takedowns too. But I just don't see how he loses this fight. Like he's not going to get boxed up for 15 minutes, nor is he going to get grinded out for 15 minutes. Nor do I think he's going to get knocked out by this guy either. Yeah, I got Stamann here. And just a quick note about that fight where Askar got knocked out last year. That was a fight where he just seemed like he hated that dude for some reason. Like they were just throwing down and he was not giving any respect to this guy's power. The guy landed the same hook on him 3 or 4 straight times. Askar's like, it's cool. I'm still going to try to counter you and knock you out. Unfortunately, he's the one that gets knocked out. He's the one staring up at the lights. And then you definitely see him kind of shore those mistakes up in his next fight against Kevin Worth on that LFA fight back in October, where you see him a little bit more disciplined, mixing in his takedowns, trying to put together a full MMA game. But again, even that MMA game I saw, it doesn't look like it could do anything to Cody Stamann here. So yeah, Valliev and Stamann, Chalk City, but write that shit home, baby. I'm right there with you, Kelton.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you can put two, in my opinion, really safe legs together and it ends up better than minus 200, a lot of people are super against parlays, but like, I feel like if you pick your spots and don't make parlays every single card, don't make 2 or 3 a card, like really pick your spots and think about like, all right, and you make a checklist of okay, he's covered in this spot, this spot, this spot. Like if you find these strong legs, like don't be afraid to make parlays, man. Just because like the perception of parlays, parlays are a bookmaker's dream. I'm like, yeah, for most people, but like again, if you're a smart bettor and pick your spots, I don't mind parlays at all. So let's get it, man. Stamann, Valliev, let's go.
I'm right there with you, dude. Like in terms of parlays, like the main narrow path to victory that a lot of these big underdogs have is like that knockout, like that Hail Mary knockout. But in these two fights here, like I don't really see Martin Day. Like maybe he's more live to knock out Valliev than what's his face is live to knock out Stamann, right? But again, these guys aren't crazy power punchers, so it really truly mystifies me as to how these guys would overcome this, right? So yeah, I'm right there with you with that parlay. I don't mind the Chalk City parlay there. Potential lock of the night play right there. If I didn't already have fucking 5 units on Mike Rodriguez because of the Stamann fight being pulled out, but yeah, no, I'll definitely have a good chunk of money invested in that parlay.
Yeah, man. I mean, you mentioned it. Lighter weight classes. There seems to be,
Yeah.
less crazy shit in these lighter weight classes. It's the big boys where the shit goes real down. But we got some more little guys here, man. We got a couple of serious flyweights. I'm hyped for this fight, man. We got Alexandre Pantoja. He is minus 135. He's taking on Manel Kape plus 115, making his debut. Coming over from the Ryzen scene where he actually knocked out Kai Oscura. I'm forgetting the dude's name, but the dude who actually knocked out Horiguchi before. Kape knocked out that dude. Kape fought Ulka Sasaki. He did lose that fight, but he's been in there with some UFC vets before. This is no inexperienced fighter making his debut here, like a couple of guys we were talking about earlier. Kape's got 20 fights. Kape's fought, he fought Ian McCall too. Like, he's been in there with a lot of dudes for sure. Knocked out Takeya Mizugaki. So, like, he's handling these washed UFC vets with ease already. Like, these are guys he could, if Ian McCall and Takeya Mizugaki were still in the UFC, like, these are the kind of guys you knock out on your way up to the top anyway. So, like, I actually don't have a problem with Kape coming in here, small weight class anyway. So to take on the number 5 guy in the world in his debut, we kind of saw that with Jiri Prakashka. I think that was either last year or late 2019. I think that was last year.
It was last year,
yeah. He was another guy who made his debut against a top 5 guy, but again, it was deserved. He was super experienced. He beat a lot of UFC vets. So I like this fight in general. Now, do I like Kape to win this fight? Not really, man, to be honest with you. I know it was 2018, but watch that Ulka Sasaki fight I mentioned. There might be a little bit of holes in the grappling game of Manel Kape. And when you're talking about Pantoja, I mean, very good BJJ grappler. It's funny, my Alexandre Pantoja and Ulka Sasaki fought before. That's actually biggest bet I've ever made in my entire life. I know it was super chalky, but I was all over the Pantoja minus 300 there against Sasaki. But anyway, yeah, I mean, Pantoja knows what he's got to do here. It's kind of like it's tricky because if you watch Pantoja's fights, like he brawls a lot, man. And if he wants to test his striking here, and not test, we know Pantoja's a proven striker, but like if he wants to fuck around here and strike with Manel Kape, I don't like that, man. You're giving this dude opportunities. Manel Kape can crack. Like, dude's got very good striking. So, I don't know. Pantoja's the rightful favorite, I feel like, just based on the skill sets. Like, he's got the most obvious path to victory here. But, man, I don't feel like betting Pantoja just because I feel like if he gives opportunities to Kape on the feet, I could see him getting knocked out, man. It's a tough fight to call, honestly. Like, it's really competitive. I like this Kape dude a lot, but I'm gonna go with Pantoja here. I'm gonna go with Pantoja to teach Kape a lesson. Maybe Kape will be back, but man, I can't overlook that grappling advantage. I think it's huge. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm on the Pantoja side. I didn't make a bet on this one, but yeah, I think that Pantoja is going to be successful in getting this fight to the ground and getting his jiu-jitsu going. It kind of actually surprised me that Kape is actually a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, but we didn't see much of it in his fight against Lucas Sasaki. But he's fighting a much tougher black belt in jiu-jitsu here against Pantoja. My concern for Pantoja, though, is the longer this fight goes, the more you're giving Kape an advantage to go in there and actually, possibly knock him out. I think the spot here could potentially even be the under 2.5. You know what I mean? Maybe an early submission from Pantoja or a later finish by Kape on the feet. My concern is like Kape is like a one and doneer type of striker. Like, he's throwing big shots out there, but not really setting them up too well. He's very energetic. He's unorthodox. He's a big mouth himself too. He's like a mini Kevin Holland. Likes to really like goad his opponent on. But yeah, like the lack of output, the inexperience of actually being in the UFC. Like, I know it's one thing to go out there and fight guys that are UFC level or used to be in the UFC, but it's another thing to just go in there and actually fight a guy, right? Like the example that I love to use is Tyler Santos against Mara Romero Barilla. Right? I mean, she goes out there, doesn't look the way that we saw her on the regional scene, and then she comes out there and it puts an absolute ass whooping on Molly McCann in her next fight, right? That could potentially what we see out of Manel Kape. I like Pantoja here. I think we'll see him get the takedown. I think we'll see him pull off the submission. But the longer the fight goes, I feel like he gets a little bit lackadaisical in his striking defense, and I feel like Kape has the speed and the the explosiveness to kind of just beat him to the punch the later this fight goes. As we've seen, even Askarov in that third round, he was kind of lighting Pantoja up on the feet because he was just a fresher, faster guy at the time, and Pantoja just couldn't react to the shots quick enough. So, I think Kape will have the advantage on the feet, and I think he'll have the advantage along this fight goes. But I think he shows some real issues on the ground, and that's where I think we'll see Pantoja truly shine. So I'll go with Pantoja to win this fight early via submission. But yeah, I'm not laying my money on this. I'd rather just kick back and watch this fight as a fan.
So moving on, we got a real interesting matchup here. Kind of surprised it's on the main card, but we got Macy Chason. She is -210, taking on Marion Renault +175. Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, not sure why this is on the main card. Chason, I know she's coming off a win, but man, even in that win, not a good look. Like I was kind of under the impression Macy Chiasson would be a little bit better than what she's shown in her last couple fights. She had a little bit of hype coming off the Ultimate Fighter, man. Even finished Hanny Kianzad in the finale, followed it up with a couple wins. She's real big for the division. She's got more power than your average woman. I think a lot of people were thinking this girl might be something, but then against Lena Landsberg, she had no answer for Lena. Not a good look. I thought, okay, she's getting a step down here in Shanna Young in her next fight. She should blow through this girl. And yeah, she got the win. She clearly won, in my opinion. But, man, I see a green fighter. I see a fighter with a lot of holes to fill still. Now, I mean, that's not to take away from the attributes she does have. She does have all those things we were saying she does have. She is big. She does have power. And she's fighting a girl here in Marion Renault who is 43 years old, who has, one fight in the last 2 years or so. It's tough, man. This is a real weird fight to call. I feel like Macy Chiasson probably is the rightful favorite here just based on youth, size, power. But, I mean, Marion Renault's got that experience advantage. I'd say she has a nice grappling advantage here. It's probably a question of how much has she aged lately. Raquel Pennington, she fought in 2020. It's like Raquel Pennington is a much higher level fighter than Macy Chiasson. We can all agree on that. Rocky's been there, done that, top 5 for a while. This is definitely a step down for Marion Renault. I don't know, man. I don't know if she's got one more in her. I don't want to trust it. I think she could win this fight if she's able to get this fight to the mat. She's got some nice subs, man. You remember when she subbed Jessica Andrade back in the day, subbed Sarah McMahon, although that was a classic quit job from McMahon. We've seen a lot of those, especially last week. Yeah, man, weird fight to call. You got one girl who I feel like has a lot of developing to do, and you got one who's probably at the tail end of their career. I'm gonna go with the favorite. No big upset pick for me here. I'll say Macy finishes her in the second round. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm waiting for that line on Renault. I want that +200. I think she's very live to win as a dog here. Like Chason, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of I think that she's still green. Like she's only 6-1. She's 29 years old. Marion Renault, even though she's 43, she started her first ever MMA fight was when she was 33 years old. She's only been in the game for 10 years, right? You can say what you want about her age, but she's still going out there and having solid third rounds against a girl like Yana Kunitskaya. She almost finished her in that round too. The Raquel Pennington fight was an interesting one, and a lot of people might lean on that and be like, look, Pennington was able to out clinch her and outwork her in that third round. That's Chiasson's game. Chiasson just goes out there and bullies fighters, and she uses their strength or her strength and her size against these people, and she's able to more often than not just be the stronger woman. But then when she fights somebody experienced like Lena Landsberg, she's not able to get away with that. I mean, when fights go to a decision, including her amateur career, she's 2-2. But I don't even want to account that last fight she had against Shanna Young, who was a weight class below her, taking that fight on short notice, and just did not know how to get out of any of those positions. And even in that fight alone, you see Macy Chiasson making huge mistakes. Like she is simply a brute who goes out there and tries to overpower opponents and tries to get them out of there, whether it's, first or second round KOs. I will give this to her. Her submission victory over Pantoja Kianzad was very impressive. Like the way she trapped her arm with one of her hooks and then eventually got that rear naked choke was very, very impressive. Like I was very high on her especially after that fight. But once you see her fights more and more, like it's clear as day that she just relies on her power and her strength a little bit too much, and it's going to catch up to her when she starts fighting these more well-rounded women. Sarah Moras goes out there and possibly wins the first round against her, which is very, crazy to think of, especially where Sarah Moras is at this point in her career. But I think if we see the Macy Chiasson that fought, what's her name, Shanna Young, I think Renault wins. I don't think that Young would be able to capitalize on those little mistakes that we saw from Chiasson the way that Renault does. Renault's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Renault has legit striking, and you could make a case that she probably has better striking than Macy Chiasson as well from a technical standpoint. Chiasson is wild and winging with her shots, and she knocks out Gina Mazzani. People are all over her now, but like she's not fighting fighters that have a well-rounded game plan or experience like a girl like Marion Rowan. The only girl that she fought that had that was Lena Landsberg, and we saw how that fight went. She accrued 4.5 minutes of control time in that first round, and then after that, it was all Lena Landsberg because she just gassed herself out, trying to push her up against the cage and outwork her there. And she does good things in the clinch. You know what I mean? She puts her forehead on the chest or on the chin of her opponents, really drives them up against the cage and starts to do work from there. She has solid knees from the Muay Thai clinch. Like, those are the good things in Chiasson's game. But again, it's all reliant on strength and size, and it's not going to work against some of these women that are able to see through that. Like, even like she is so desperate to clinch up with some of these women. If you see some of her fights, she's like chasing them down from one side of the cage to the other, trying to spear them through the cage. It's absolutely crazy. She's trying to get her WWE on, it seems like. But I think that Renault is going to have a little bit too much for her. I think personally, I'm trying to call my shot here. I'm trying to say third round submission, Marion Renault, where we see Chiasson. If she's not able to get Renault out of there in the first 2 rounds, or I'm even going to say round and a half, she's going to start to suck wind a little bit. We're going to see Renault start to turn it up, and then I could potentially see a submission from Renault, who, again, black belt, has a couple third round and second round finishes on her record. I think 4 or 5 out of her 9 wins were via finish. I think this is a solid dog spot for Renault, but a lot of people are going to be scared off of it because of the fact that she's 43. We got to look past that. It's like a skilled veteran against a very green prospect who just focuses on strength and power. So I think that this is a solid spot for Renault. I was going to wait for plus 190, but I've been like hearing other people's breakdowns and looking on Twitter and stuff, and it seems like other people are privy on Renault as well too. So we might see that line close a little bit. So I might be forced to pull the trigger at plus 190. I'm not sure, but I do like Renault here. I think she gets it done as well too late in this fight.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, you're kind of selling me here. I gotta look.
Let's go.
I gotta look at the DraftKings price on this one because I mean, again, you mentioned it. A sub is totally live here. DraftKings loves those grappling points, the takedowns, the control time. Yep. Damn, dude. So we got Marion Renault 7,300 here.
Ooh.
That's a good price. I mean, if you stick her in along with a couple other underdogs, I mean, you basically get anybody else you want in your lineup. So. Yeah, my boy Manpreet bringing the bold picks here. I love it.
Let's go.
Moving on to the co-main event of the evening, though. This is a fun one. We got Corey Sandhagen. He's minus 400, taking on the legend Frankie the Answer Edgar, plus 325. I'll be honest, man. My first look at this one, digging through the records, looking at the stats, the quick wiki cap before we actually step in and watch the tape. That Corey Sandhagen takedown defense stat kind of sticks out to me, man. It's like really bad. It's somewhere around 30%. You watch his fights, he does get taken down. He does, he struggled with grappling a lot in the past. You look at the Aljo fight, even look at the Yuri Alcantara fight where he had Corey in some trouble on the ground. Corey's been taken down a lot, man. That's Frankie's thing. He's a wrestler first and foremost. So, man, just looking at a plus 300s line, there's a path to victory. I was kind of leaning that way at first, but I feel like this is Corey Sandhagen's time, man. I feel like he's probably heavily favored here for a reason. The dude is just, I mean, he's a phenom on the feet, man. I mean, it's crazy. I was looking forward to that Corey Aljo match so much, and just the way it ended so quickly, man. It was just disappointing that we couldn't see more, but I mean, dude, that's all the credit in the world to Aljo. He did his damn thing that night. But yeah, Corey's so great on the feet, man. We saw that on the Marlon Moraes fight. Barely tipped him on the head with that kick, but that was, just enough. Caught him in the sweet spot. His hands are good. Like, everything's getting better from Corey. Good gym. Like, Corey checks most boxes, like everything you look for in a fighter. Good cardio, volume. You gotta love the guy for sure. And I think he is on his way back up to a number one contender fight. And Frankie Edgar's in his way. Like I said, he's got a path, but it's like I'm worried for Frankie Edgar every second this fight is on the feet. I don't know if this is like the Pedro Munoz fight at all. Like I was confident in Munoz on that fight, but kind of thinking back, like I don't know. I don't know if I should have been. Like Pedro Munoz is real. He's always been this way too. He's just kind of slow on the feet and like the punches just aren't there. Like he's nowhere near as fast as Corey Sandhagen. I feel like Corey Sandhagen is going to just be too fast, too young, too long for Frankie era. I know Frankie is a guy who fought at 155. He fought much bigger guys than Corey Sandhagen, but I still feel like Corey's going to be able to use that, big reach to his advantage. Big fan. He's he's the favorite for a reason. Give me Corey. I'm kind of bouncing back and forth whether I got him by TKO or decision. I saw a lot of people on Corey by TKO prop. I think the price is kind of good on that. I don't know, man. Like I'm kind of undecided. Frankie's chin actually looked good against Pedro. Like Pedro, I said Pedro was kind of slow. Like he is kind of slow, but we all know Pedro has power. He's hurt a lot of people. Frankie took those shots, man. His chin looked good, and that was a worrying factor. I think that was his first cut to 135. People were kind of thinking maybe his chin might not be all there, but it was. Lasted 5 rounds with a top 10 fighter. So I'll give Frankie the benefit of the doubt. I'll say Corey wins a 30-27 decision here. Who do you got, man?
Yeah, I'm on Sandhagen as well. No bet though. The line is just a little bit too wide. We know Frankie Edgar is a vet. He can make fights closer than they should be, which is what kind of scares me here. The wrestling, obviously, a little bit of a concern. The Aljo one was interesting because we knew that was the advantage that Aljo had. The guy is the human backpack, self-proclaimed, right? Like he goes out there, he's so strong, his grip is insane. So good on him to go out there and just take out Sandhagen the way that he did. But my question with Frankie is like, if he does get Sandhagen down, is he going to be able to control him as well that Aljo did? And for me, I don't think he will. I don't think he'll be able to keep him on the ground. Sandhagen is, even though it didn't look like it against Aljo, he's a pretty decent, I believe he's a purple belt, but he has some pretty good chops on the ground as well too. Just watch the Yuri Alcantara fight, right? Like how he got out of that armbar was absolutely insane, but that just shows you that he stays patient, he stays calm in those situations, and he gets out of them. Maybe not against a guy like Aljo, but I don't think that we see that type of jiu-jitsu from Frankie Edgar. I wouldn't even be surprised if Frankie is a black belt. But again, we know that there's different levels to this shit when we talk about black belts. With Frankie, he could land takedowns. He could land some combinations, but I think that the weird, unorthodox nature of Sandhagen is just going to be a little bit too much for him. Like, I just don't think that we'll see him land the combinations we saw him land on Pedro. Pedro is kind of just like a walking punching bag where he's very durable. It doesn't matter what you throw at him. He's just going to walk through it and try to land his bombs. So stylistically, that was kind of a great fight for Frankie, but I think that a lot of people overlooked Frankie in that fight because they didn't think that he'd be able to handle the power of Pedro Munoz. So that was the most impressive thing to me in that Munoz fight, was the fact that Edgar was able to take those shots. And that makes me a little bit skeptical here in terms of whether Sandhagen will be able to put him out. Like, Sandhagen's not going to throw those bungalows that Pedro Munoz does, but we'll see him go out there, throw spinning shit, put together a combination, solid head kicks and all that type of stuff. So I think the more I think about it, I think we'll see Corey Sandhagen win this fight via decision, just picking him apart, landing the big shots from the outside, maybe dropping him a couple times, but possibly not getting the finish. But yeah, I got Sandhagen here. The line's just a little bit too wide for me. I'm not hating on anybody taking the shot here on Frankie Edgar at that plus 300, plus 350, possibly, going to end at plus 400 by fight time. And even at plus 400, I might be tempted to make a small play, just value, just for value's sake. You might have to trust the old guy, Frankie Edgar here. But yeah, I truly think that Sandhagen's just slowly going to, get his way back to the top. And this is just another fight for him to go out there and get the W. If you remember, they were scheduled to fight at the beginning of 2020. And then Edgar pulls out to take the Korean Zombie fight. So he didn't have to miss freaking Christmas. Unfortunately, he goes out there, gets knocked out pretty quickly by TKZ. But yeah, Sandhagen was already preparing for this guy. He knows what to expect. If anything, he goes out there and sees another 25, 30 minutes of Frankie Edgar, and it allows him to game plan even better. We know those team elevation guys are a high level with their shit. So, yeah, I got Sandhagen. Line is just a little bit too wide for me. And yeah, I'd think twice about parlaying him, to be honest, because I don't think he adds enough value to a parlay at that minus 400 line, especially given the circumstances around this fight. So I'll go with Corey. But yeah, line is just way too wide.
Yeah, man. If you're gonna parlay something around minus 400, go with the Timur Valliev or the who else? Cody Stamann's of the world.
That's
I
my
feel
guy
like
right there.
for the same price, I mean, I feel like we got a much more of a mismatch there. Whereas Corey Sandhagen's fighting a guy in Frankie Edgar, future Hall of Famer, great game planner. I mean, Frankie Edgar's pulled some wins out of pulled some wins out of his ass in the past, man. So never know, can never completely count out a legend. Speaking of legends, we're moving on to our main event here, man. We got Mr. Nine Lives himself, Alistair Overeem. He has taken on Alexander Volkov. Volkov minus 185. Overeem plus 160. Manpreet, take it away.
Yeah, I know you got to play on this one, so I'm going to be on the opposite side. I don't have a play on this fight yet, but I'm going to be monitoring the line, see where it goes as fight week progresses. But I like Overeem, man. I think a lot of people continue to overlook him for the fact that he, possibly still chinny, possibly still showing effects of that. But we've seen him his chin hold up as of late. You know what I mean? Like he did get dropped by Walt Harris. He showed great composure, came back and ended up winning that fight himself too. But I like what we've been seeing from him ever since he's moved to Team Elevation. I put the statistic out there that his first 13 fights in the UFC, he only completed 3 takedowns. In his last 5 fights since joining Team Alpha or Team Elevation, he's completed 7 takedowns. Like the guy's going out there and making a full game plan now. Like he's not just thinking that I can just go out there and knock these guys out, use my Muay Thai, use my K1 skills and all that, and just knock these guys out. It's not happening at this age or at this point in his career. So what do? He went out there, he flipped the script. He saw the way Curtis Blades beat his ass, and he's like, I want to start fighting like this. And that's what he's been doing. Did it to Walt Harris, did it to Gusto Sakai, even though he gave up those first couple rounds. Still went out there, showed his resilience, ate some good shots from both those guys, still kept on chugging. And yeah, I just like the veteran experience and this Alistair like 3.0 that we're seeing at this point, because we've seen so many evolutions in his game, but this recent one is the most effective given his age, given where he's at in his career, and the fact that this is his last run in the UFC. He said it himself too. He's like, I need to get it together. I need to, if I want to touch gold, this is my last run. So this fight against Volkov is interesting because, like, again, his main training partner, Curtis Blades, goes out there, lands 14 of 25 takedowns on Alexander Volkov. But I'm not going to go out there and say that we're going to see a similar performance from Overeem, landing 14 out of 25 takedowns on Volkov. But I think he'll be successful on enough of them that he should be able to bank some rounds. He's good enough on the feet. My only issue on the feet is his defensive shell that he gets into. Like he's content with just like backing up into the cage and just putting his hands up and just letting his opponent, Homer Simpson him until he's able to just back away and then start getting his shots off. He still looks great in the clinch. Like his knees are still deadly as they've ever been. I think that's something that a lot of people overlook at this point in time. And then when we're talking about Volkov on the flip side, great performance against Walt Harris. But let's be honest, Walt Harris is not like a top guy. He's definitely not a top guy. His biggest wins are over guys that aren't even in the UFC anymore. I mean, I don't rate Walt Harris anymore at all. Obviously, before that, gets beat by Blades. My concern with Volkov is it's great that he's put on weight, coming in at that 265 range. He looks great at that size. But how is that going to carry on in this fight if he goes later? I mean, like, is it going to affect his cardio? We saw him finish Fabricio Verdum in the 4th round. His cardio looked better in that fight. But we're talking about another 15 to 18 pounds that he's putting on. Who knows what he's walking into the cage at? He's probably cutting down to 265, right? Is he 270? Is he 275? How is it going to look like the later this fight goes on? So I think the later that the fight goes, it's more in favor of Overeem than it is of Volkov. We saw obviously Overeem get knocked out by Jairzinho Rozenstruik, last second knockout, like it's like as Hail Mary as it gets. Jairzinho Rozenstruik gets lucky there. And I truly believe that was a little bit of a sketchy stoppage as well too. Like I think Jairzinho walking away and celebrating pushed the referee to kind of stop it. Yeah, I mean, more often than not, you see Overeem pretty much right back to his feet immediately. Yeah, he stumbled to the side a little bit, but we've seen that from fighters in the past. And if Rosenstrike goes out there and tries to follow up with a couple more strikes, we're only talking about 4 seconds. 4 seconds away from getting a decision victory over Rosenstrike in that fight. So we've seen Overeem in 5-round fights before. We've seen him go deep into fights and put guys away. Volkov, in my opinion, not a one-punch knockout kind of guy. He could have the power to put Overeem out. I don't think it's going to come from one punch. I like the defensive awareness that we've seen from Overeem in terms of, like, even though he does shell up against the cage at times, we'll see him get away, break away, and start to land his own shots and maybe even pull off a takedown or two himself. I'm not completely sold on Volkov's takedowns or takedown defense, and I'm not just saying that just because of the Curtis Blaydes fight. Even in past fights, we've seen opponents have relative ease in terms of taking him down. But yeah, that's where I stay. Again, this is me taking a dog shot, right? Like, if this was evens, I'd consider maybe Volkov, but I do like what we've been seeing from Overeem. The books have been disrespecting him for a little while now, and they continue to do it for this fight. But yeah, I want to see where this line goes. But I might have a play on Overeem by the time they step into the cage.
Man, I liked your breakdown. I agree with with what you said. I disagree on some stuff. This is, I mean, saving our biggest disagreement for last, right? You're definitely right though. Like, Overeem's added a lot to his game. Like, right after that Curtis Blaydes fight, went and trained with them, then faces Sergey Pavlovich and literally does the exact same thing that got done to him. Like, that was violent, man. If you haven't seen Overeem versus Pavlovich, holy shit, dude, that was a mauling and a half. That was a great performance, but it's like, this ain't Sergey Pavlovich anymore. Even going to his next wins, Olenek, that was one of those fights where we saw the famous, covering up that he likes to do. He just covered up, shelled up, let Olenek burn out some power. Smart, it worked for sure. He got the first round finish. We know Olenek has shit for gas tank. Next fight, the Rosenstrike fight. I mean, that's a pretty example of why Overeem's chin, I think, is still a liability, because that shows he can be winning a fight and lose literally at any second. I know you think the finish might be a little sketchy, but it's like, well, what I saw was Overeem going out cold and then waking right back up, man. Like, that shot definitely put him out. It was huge for sure. But next fight, Walt Harris, he gets hurt again. The chin comes into play again, but then, of course, Walt Harris, he kind of burns himself out. Overeem, credit to him, he gets the comeback, but it's like, again, it's real sketchy. And again, I view Volkov. I don't think this is Walt Harris anymore. Volkov just smoked Walt Harris. This is, I mean, Volkov's a top 5 guy, man. And then the most recent fight, Sakai. Again, that was a fight where Overeem was losing. He was, he was doing the old shell up, and then he came on strong with the late takedowns for sure. I think he won rounds 3, 4, and then he, got the finish in round 5. Brutal finish, by the way. I mean, that was a great performance by Overeem, and got to respect what he's doing for sure. He did win 4 out of his last 5 fights, but like, I think this is a much different one, man. I feel like Volkov, I was low on Volkov's takedown defense like way back in the day when he first made his debut. I think it was against fucking Tim Big Dick Johnson. Yeah. Because I was looking back, he fought Volkov, that is, fought Tony Johnson back in the day in Bellator, and that's where you could like really see the hole in Volkov's takedown defense. But honestly, man, over the years, I think it's steadily been improving. The Curtis Blaydes fight, like, yeah, Curtis Blaydes was way too much, dominated that fight. But if you watch that fight, Volkov was coming on pretty strong late. That round 5 was actually kind of sketchy. So I like Volkov late in 5-round fights. He has that experience as well, man. I mean, I feel like he should for sure be the favorite here, just because we're talking about a guy in his prime. He's got the durability advantage. This is one of the few times where we're going to see somebody who's got a height and reach advantage on Overeem. I feel like Volkov, yeah. I mean, Overeem's the most decorated striker in UFC history. I think I saw some crazy accuracy stat he has. I think he has like the best accuracy in UFC history by like a good 5% or something crazy like that. Like, there's no denying how good he is on the feet, but if there's a few guys out there who I think can keep up, I think Volkov is one of those guys, man. He's super impressive to me. He's got some big wins, deserves the top 5 ranking that he's got, and I think he's going to come out here and put away Overeem at some point. I think the takedown defense, like, yeah, he might get taken down a time or two like Rosenstrike did, but I think, honestly, I think he can get right back up like Rosenstrike did, man. And Oh man, I mean, it's a really, really, really good fight, man. I mean, anytime Overeem steps in the octagon, it's for sure a treat. It's just like he just hit 40. He turned 40 last year. The chin's always been a problem, but it's heavyweight. They all have 10 lives. But yeah, long story short, I bet Volkov by TKO/KO here. Like I didn't really want to spend the minus 185, minus 190 or whatever he is. So I figured, man, 25 minutes to put away the Reem. I like this KO prop at plus 135. I think that's the route to play. Don't really dig it straight, but yeah, I mean, did you say you did or didn't play over him?
I didn't play him yet, but I'm gonna watch where that line goes throughout the week. Like I'm again, I know the durability is a question mark for sure. Volkov is very precise with his shots as well too, and something that he has in his arsenal as well is that uppercut. And I can just see an uppercut sneaking through that weird defensive shell that we see of Overeem. So that could definitely be live as well too. But one thing I do want to talk about in terms of the durability of Overeem, the only guys to really knock him out on the feet, in my opinion, are two of the hardest hitters in the division: Jairzinho Rozenstruik, probably one of the hardest hitters, and Francis Ngannou. The Curtis Blades fight, absolute domination on the ground, beautiful work from the full guard, and then Stipe Miocic obviously ground and pounds him as well too. But like in terms of standing on the feet, two of the top three heavyweight hitters. You can throw Derek Lewis in there as well, but we haven't seen over him against Lewis. But I don't think Volkov's on that level in terms of having that power. That's the difference here. I think it's the power.
I don't
It could
know, man. I feel like maybe the size brings along more power. He's got more force
maybe
behind. Yeah, I mean, these are heavyweights,
for
man. I
sure.
mean, Volkov is a hard fucking hitter. I mean, I feel like a knockout's very live here, but you're talking about recent years, right? Because we know Overeem's been knocked out by guys like Ben Rothwell and Travis Brown as well.
Yeah. I'm talking about recently. Like I feel like we've seen a bit of a resurgence in the durability, like Andrei Arlovsky as well, right? Like we used to write that guy's chin off, and now he's just eating shots from half these heavyweights that just can't put him out anymore, right? So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the lack of horse speed or whatever it is for Overeem, but it's a great fight, absolutely great fight. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to actually put the money on him. I will pick him to win, but I want to see if that line gets out of hand. If it gets a little bit out of hand, I'm going to have to be forced to play on Overeem here.
All right, so that's it, guys. Good show. I appreciate you coming on, man. That was a lot of fun for sure. Just to quickly review my bets. So I do have the 4-unit parlay into more Valliev with Cody Stamann at minus 160. I got the 3 units on Volkov by KO/TKO plus 135. And then I got 3.1 units on the Zalal and Choi over 2.5 rounds at minus 155. Course, follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff in case I had another bet. Might happen. Manpreet, appreciate you coming on, man. I want you to tell the people where they can find you in case they already aren't at where you're at.
Yeah, no, I got a ton of shit that I'm doing this week, but the usual spots, I'm usually on odds, doing the show on Thursday night with Cody Softic. We're doing that Propping You Up show, 8 p.m. Eastern, and then on Fridays I do the roundtable with Just Bleed, with Cody, with MMA Prediction Guru as well too. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's every Friday of fight week, and then on Saturdays I do a fight day stream as well at 1 p.m. Eastern, where I just go over last minute thoughts. It's everybody. It's pretty much a show for everybody in the chat. I just let them throw questions at me. I just answer them right off the cuff. And then obviously my podcast. I try to drop it every Monday of fight week. It's already out. I'm slowly dropping breakdowns for the fights that just got put together last minute. I just dropped my what was it, the Askar and Stamann breakdown right before hopping on with you. I'm going to be finishing editing the Devontae Smith and Justin James one. That one will drop within the next 20 minutes or so. But yeah, in terms of where you can find me, at MMALOTN on Twitter, MMALOTN on YouTube as well too. And if you guys have that IG, I'm on that IG as well now too, at MMALOTN on there. Dude, I appreciate you having me on though. Again, I've been happy, and once you reached me out to originally do this one, and I'm glad that we finally got it done. Now, here's to hoping that we have a bunch more in the future as well.
Yeah, man, it was a no-brainer when I was thinking of people. All right, who do I want to get on the podcast now that we're back rolling the show here on the old channel? And you were one of the first people I thought of, man. I mean, I want to give you credit. You're probably one of the most like interactive guys on Twitter as well. You do a lot of fun contests. I'm in one of them, that
Yeah.
Lock in the Night challenge. It's a lot of fun, man. You just do a lot of cool shit. It's honestly awesome to have you in the community. I mean, you're a pretty well respected guy, so appreciate you coming on. I'm looking forward to, you know, being on this MMA journey with you for a long time. Being on the Twitter sphere. I've been on the MMA Twitter sphere for like 5-6 years now, and I've seen so many guys, come and go. Guys will try to, do what we're doing, hop on the YouTube, and I've seen so many drop over the years, and just to see you grow over the years, I want to see you keep going. I want to see myself keep going. So, cheers, man. I appreciate you coming on. So,
dude, I appreciate it for sure. Anything you need on my end, I'm always happy to help OGs of the game as much as possible. And yeah, whenever I do have guests on my show, I'll definitely have you in mind to hop on and come on my channel. I haven't done it recently, but it's definitely something that I want to do and give some more shine to some of these other guys. But yeah, I greatly appreciate it, Kelton, for sure. Keep grinding. I love the streak that you're on right now. You're killing it. Just stick with it, man, and we're gonna kill it too. I gotta change my ways a little bit. I've been on a little bit of a skid over the last couple of events, but here's to hoping that we can to right the ship with this event coming up this weekend.
yes, sir. It's a grind, but we're grinding the best sport in the world. In my eyes, and in your eyes, this sport is the best fucking thing in the world. So it's at least we're grinding on what we love. So
Exactly.
yep. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Of course, hit that like button like always. I always appreciate that. Hit the subscribe. Always appreciate that. And if any of y'all aren't on Twitter, that's where it's at. That's where all us MMA guys are at, active, and it's just the best way to keep up with everything. So appreciate you guys. Enjoy the fights of the Saturday. That's the most important thing. Enjoy the fights. Just sit back, relax, and that's it. Appreciate you guys. Have a good night.